Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. Rassie Erasmus has once again hit back at the larger rugby community, talking about who decides what is in the spirit of the game and what is not. Lots of critics, lots of criticism, lots of chat about the Springbok tactics from last weekend in the second test against Italy, with the Boks using the laws of rugby to try and suit their game plan, where they, for example, instituted a offside kickoff, which resulted in a scrum on the halfway line. They tried what was being dubbed basically sort of midfield lineouts to try and get penalty advantage and to draw dominant set pieces to sort of build off. And it's been met with some very interesting criticism. A lot of people liking it, a lot of people saying it's not in the spirit of the game. Something like Scott Robertson, the All Blacks coach, has come out and said he absolutely loves it, and he says, it's got people talking, and that's phenomenal. Other people have been saying that it's not in the spirit of the game and that should be disallowed. And Rassie Erasmus has spoken out about it, talking about who gets to decide what is in the spirit and what isn't in the spirit of the game. And I'm absolutely here for it. Absolute nonsense that every single time the Springboks try something, it's deemed against the spirit of the game and not right, etc., etc. When other teams do it, it's deemed, revolutionary and really innovative. And it's always going to be a big tug on your back when you're the world champions and trying new things. But very interesting to see what the reaction will be from World Rugby and the lawmakers regarding the tactics that the Springboks used. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So it was an interesting press conference on Tuesday with Rassie Erasmus. And Rassie is what you see is what you get. There's nothing complicated about Rassie Erasmus. He's a very straightforward individual. He says it how it is, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. That's very apparent. What he says, there's no malice involved. It's just what he believes. It's just what he thinks. If you watch the podcast, Rassie Plus, you'll know more about sort of the type of person he is. Now, you can understand the frustration. You are the world champions, but previously you've been dubbed a boring side because you don't score tries. You've been dubbed a side that is bullying teams because of the bomb squad. You are a side that just knows how to scrum because you call scrums off the mark. Every time the Springboks have had success, there have been lots of naysayers and sort of excuses about how it's not been done in the right way. And, they've had to go through so much criticism and so much, public outcry along the way of their success. Now, South Africans have always backed them 100%, but you can imagine how tiring it gets when you're doing things, you're winning trophies, and people keep sort of trying to bring those achievements down. And same as last weekend, we saw some really cool things from the Boks, and some of them might be disallowed, some of them might have been officiated wrongly. But the point is, it's about understanding your parameters, your game parameters, which are the laws, and how do you make the laws suit the way you want to play, and how do you sort of operate within the laws to gain an advantage. Now, this is what he had to say about it on Tuesday, and I think that the big thing about Rassie is that he will never mince his words, and he's going to be brutally honest, and I think, the questions were posed to him basically, what are your thoughts on the accusations that the tactics that you deploy, that the way the Boks play, the way the Boks manipulate, inverted commas, the law, it's against the spirit of the game, and, is it allowed? And this is basically what he had to say. Let's bring it up, shall we? So he says, I must count my words here, but I don't want to sound arrogant. But rugby does not belong to anybody. And he's very right. Why is there any sort of person who sort of sits on a moral high ground, on their high horse, or from a mountaintop and look down upon others and sit there and decide who gets to decide how to play the game? So he said it's not Italy's game or England's game or New Zealand's game or France's game or Japan's game or the Springboks game. It doesn't belong to anybody. And he said everybody plays differently. There are laws in place. He said Yadi Nabiya kicked 5 drop goals in 9-99. Is that against the spirit of the game? Now, to be fair, a lot of people talk about the fact that when teams go out, win penalties, kick drop goals, that's inverted commas boring, and we need to kind of prevent that and make drop goals or penalties 2 points to try and encourage more tries. Often the new laws that come in are very much orientated towards how do we get people to score more tries. He then says the French ran the ball from everywhere. Is that against the spirit of the game? If you put the ball skew into the scrum and you take away the contents, is that against the spirit of the game? Interestingly, he actually put a clip up of Italy. And, the fact that when they came to scrum time, they basically ball in and kicked the ball out. And you can see that they very much didn't want to scrum. And you have to do that against the Springboks when you don't have the capacity to cope. And lots of people saying that the ball was put in skew under the sort of the 8-man's feet type of thing. And that shouldn't have been allowed. But basically, the Maul thing was highlighting the fact that Boks want to scrum. Therefore, they're going to try and find ways in the laws to have the scrums. Italy can't cope with the scrum, so they're going to find ways to prevent scrums and to find a way when they do have scrums, get that ball out. And he goes on to say, we want scrums and we don't want the ball in skew to just get the scrums over with. We want the scrums. We could have kicked the ball directly out and got the scrum that way and nobody would have known. So, that's just a different mechanic with regards to trying to find a way of getting that scrum that they got on the halfway. And he then said, it's not about what we want to do with the world. It's about what we want to know for ourselves. So basically saying it's not about, us showing the world what can be done and us proving a point. He said it is what gets us up for the games. We don't hide the fact that we wanted the first scrum and we'd rather show it than kick the ball out and everybody thinks it's an accident. He says, I think that's a very interesting point. That's what people are saying. Why just kick it out? He's saying, no, he wants to show people we want to scrum. And I think to be fair, at the moment, it kind of feels like there's a war on scrums and trying to, get away from having scrums. And the Boks being the best team in the world, have got an opportunity to sit there saying, we love scrums. We want to have the scrums. And look how important scrums are to the game. Now, some people are actually trying to use the sort of Boks success as a reason to get rid of scrums, saying, well, look at them. It's just a team that can scrum well and they can win trophies. But the Boks are not going to hide about the fact they said that we love scrumming. We said it's a massive part of rugby union. It's one of the key differences with league and union is scrums. We love the scrums. And we want to show people that we want to scrum. And he said, because in the previous test, we couldn't compete in the scrum because the ball was just fed to the eighth man. So basically trying to highlight the fact that referees need to watch, teams against the Boks scrum. How do they sort of cope with it? And do they put the ball in skew, which is not supposedly allowed? And he said, even though it didn't work out for us, and there are many things that don't work out for us, which we try, and we take that on the chin. He said, there are line-out moves where we get outsmarted. New Zealand have a fantastic line-out moves where they'll have a jumper here and a jumper there, and then they'll throw it to the middle to Tony Woodcock in the old days, and he will score a try, even though there was an early jump. He says, but you don't moan about it. You say it's just creative. That's well done. If the French kick the ball into your in-goal area and you just kick the ball out, is that against the spirit of the game? So lots of sort of talk about what is in the commas in the spirit of the game and what's not. And the big thing he said is that we're not going to change. He said, I don't understand who are the people who decide what is against the spirit of the game and who has the right to decide that. Whatever we do it for South Africa. We don't do it for the rest of the world. Very importantly here, copy, paste, bold, write it on the flipping side of buildings. We do it within the laws. Because if it's against the law, then they're going to get penalized. And that's sort of the main thing. This whole idea of spirit of the game, I can't stand. Same thing with cricket. It's not in the spirit of the game. And rugby, I will say, there's a very big sort of high horse mentality when it comes to rugby. And we talk about rugby values and we're much better than everybody else. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. You've got a game of rugby. You've got laws. Play within them. Win games. Win trophies. Italy did that phenomenally well against England. When they didn't commit to rucks and therefore they weren't rucks formed and they were completely obliterated the offside line and almost upset Italy. What happened? Everyone panicked. That was then changed. The Antoine Dupont law, the fact that they would kick and the French forwards wouldn't really backtrack and they would just find ways of giving their French forwards an opportunity to rest. And then as soon as a player would run more than, I think it was 10 meters, then everybody was onside. It was known as the Dupont law. So that was then changed. David Williams asked for a scrum. That thing gets changed. So you've got to push the laws to a certain degree. And I find it quite annoying when something happens and all of a sudden laws get changed to prevent that because it becomes far more reactionary rather than what is a problem law, not something that just gets, exploded once, absolutely the first time somebody called for a scrum from the mark, they said that's no longer an option. How nonsense is that? And in theory, if you don't have a good scrum, you're not going to call for that. It's a bloody risky move. It was a huge call. Even at the time, we all went, hang on, because you're now inviting them to have a scrum inside your 22. If there's turnover ball, if there's a penalty conceded against you, they've got a kickable penalty. They can kick to a 5 meter. They can tap and go within the 22 meter. That was a massive call. Why they get outlawed, who bloody knows? And then he continues. He says, I wouldn't say it's frustrating, but we do it for us, for our people, and the way we play. If they want us to be the dumb, boring side that just bully people, if they want that back, I don't think our people want that back. And he makes a good point. When they did not innovate, when they did keep things very simple, he said, they were called boring, and everybody said they were just bullying teams. And I love the fact that he says, if they want that back. He acknowledges that they were. During the 2019, it was the F them up physically. It was, we've got a big pack. We're going to bully you. We're going to make it too hard for you guys to cope. We're going to bring you down to the trenches, and we're going to just outmuscle you. And then they've tried to add to their game, and again, they get under criticism. So that's why the frustration comes back. And he says, there are laws or rules or protocols, as long as we are happy in South Africa, all good. And I think that's the main thing. At the end of the day, we don't care. From our point of view, stay within the laws, go win games, give us something to cheer about. And that's what this man has done. He's made the Springboks so much fun to watch. There are so many levels to watching Springboks, even covering the Springboks. I mean, having been involved at a very close level for 60 odd years now, I've been lucky enough to go to press conferences, to chat to players, to chat to some of the coaches, to ask questions to Rassie Erasmus. The layers to the game. I mean, we get to see it in Chasing the Sun to a certain degree, but the layers to the game, the preparation, the way they try and always try to innovate and try and make things happen is so much fun and so cool. And really just sort of, as a rugby nut, you just can't get enough of it. And we can't get to a situation where we want to stop this. We need more Rassie Erasmuses in the world, not less or fewer. We don't want to get rid of your Rassie Erasmuses. We want people to innovate. We want Scott Robertson. I mean, that line move last week with the All Blacks. How cool is that? Phenomenal move. Very simple, but looks so sleek. I mean, something that happens, you think they're going, wow. And that's what we want. You want wow moments. When Rowan O'Keefe goes up on the 22 meters with two players, brings down, rolling more, you score a try at the back, and everybody goes, wow. That's what you want. As spectators, we want to be wowed. We want to be impressed. We want to love what we watch. And you look at a massive scrum. I mean, I think it was the scrum against Ireland where we had that penalty try and we obliterated them on the 5 meter and went over. That's a wow moment. And we can't be in a situation where as soon as we see wow moments, we start to try and change the laws to prevent those moments. We need to encourage innovation, not discourage it, and not change the laws to make it impossible. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.